If you're anything like me, you play a lot of Nintendo games. And if you're a little more like me, you probably feel kind of bad about that. But if you're really like me, you've consumed egregious amounts of content about Nintendo's design process and philosophies. I love game design. It's such an interesting medium we can create in, and so many people have different ideas about what's correct, but all of them seem to make, or at least most of them, seem to make really awesome games. And there isn't necessarily a right way, but there are so many ways that just work. Stick with me for a second. I'm about to talk about some context, assuming you've never seen a video from me before. I love art. I love anything created by a human being with the purpose of making another human being feel something. Art. And I really love when video games do that. Art. I recently did a video talking about the artistic impact of some games that I absolutely love. And this is kind of an offshoot of that. I care about artistic games. Going back to when I said this though, if you're really like me, you've consumed egregious amounts of content about Nintendo's design process and philosophies. If you share this quality with me, you might be aware of where this video is about to go. Nintendo doesn't make art. Ta-da. At the core of Nintendo's design philosophy is one word. Fun. The core gameplay loop of a game is always the first thing in the design process. Nintendo doesn't say, we need something with a nice story that connects to an audience that's gonna make them feel things and cry when it's over and wish that they had never put the fucking game in their PlayStation. No. Stories, settings, characters, worlds, those are all secondary for Nintendo. Let's be honest for a second though. As big a fan I am of obtuse, strange, brutal, out there games that are more worried about making a point than being fun, Nintendo's kinda onto something here. They make fun games that I spend so much time playing. I likely have more time in Super Smash Bros. Than any other game ever. So undoubtedly, Nintendo's goal is not to make profound art, but to just make fun games. But wait, have you ever played a Fire Emblem game? Oops, I guess I should define something for the sake of this video. Like many large companies in gaming, Nintendo is both a developer and a publisher. For the sake of this video, I am speaking about Nintendo as a developer and not as a publisher. Does the patron paint the art? Does the YouTube subscriber create the video? Do you, punk? While they are undoubtedly catalysts to the creation of the art, I think you would struggle to stretch and say that they create the work. I know it's not completely the same, but for the sake of brevity, I'm gonna skip over that argument. Just know that I have points for any argument you would have here, and I just want to get right to the meat of the video rather than arguing about publisher versus developer. Nintendo publishes tons of games that they don't develop in-house. Pokemon, Fire Emblem, the Metroid Prime series, pretty much every Donkey Kong since the 90s, every Kirby game, Paper Mario, Xenoblade, the Mario and Luigi series, Custom Robo, the Mother series. Wait. Did you hear that list of games? There are many there that can be argued as some of the most impactful art video games have to offer. In fact, if your initial response to my statement saying that Nintendo doesn't make art was to list one of those games, maybe now you're a little bit swayed. Nintendo publishes, meaning bankrolls and releases, many wonderful works of art. But they don't make them. Now, we get to an interesting point. Because when I went to make this video, the initial idea was to add caveats to that statement as it went on. Essentially, Nintendo doesn't make art, but, and I wanted the first one to be, Nintendo doesn't make art intentionally. But as I dove deeper into the structure and history of Nintendo's software development teams, I actually realized I had to drop that caveat entirely. Caveat. I'll say it again. Nintendo releases a lot of great art as a publisher, But there's a reason you don't see a lot of videos discussing the philosophies or symbolism in Super Mario Sunshine or ARMS. Okay, there might be one out there, but I think it would require some searching and maybe a lot of stretching on the part of the one doing it. Art is pretty subjective after all, but I just don't find much profundity worth exploring. Fun to play, but not necessarily world-expanding on its own. But hang on, I said I wanted to add caveats plural to the title. My first one no longer felt correct by my arbitrary standards, and admittedly, I only had 2 planned. So what was the other one? Quick note, the rest of this video is going to include some gameplay footage of the first couple hours of Tears of the Kingdom. Nothing that should be a spoiler at this point, but just so you're aware. The Legend of Zelda is, in my opinion, Nintendo's most consistently ambitious IP. It regularly saw what its fellow series were doing, took their concepts, and then blew them out of the water. Mario 64 explored and pioneered movement in a 3D space. Ocarina of Time created a 3D world worth exploring. Super Mario Sunshine sent us on a trip to an island to clean up a bunch of goop. The Wind Waker sent us to many islands to clean up evil. Super Mario Odyssey gave us more open worlds than Mario has ever platformed in before. Breath of the Wild changed open worlds forever. Don't get me wrong, I love Mario games, particularly the 3D ones. Super Mario Sunshine might be the game I've completed more than any other game ever. But Zelda always feels bigger, more dire. Are we saving the princess, or teaming with the princess to defeat an evil demigod? In addition, the stories are subtle and open-ended enough that they're actually open to lots of interpretation. So much so that it spawned a group of fans theorizing that there was an entire timeline tying all of the games together, which was later canonized by Nintendo. So there you go. It's massive. It's inspiring. It's beautiful. It's poignant. Tragedy happens in The Legend of Zelda, and you can't always rectify it. Those games are, without a doubt, art. It's a little harder to apply this label to some of the earlier games. While the original is a great game, it's absolutely more game than profound work of art. But after a few more great games, and one other piece of dog shit, something came along that changed Zelda. Eiji Aonuma was a later addition to the Nintendo team that we know and love today, who had no prior experience with video games before joining Nintendo. He did a bunch of graphic design and sprite work before picking up his first directed title, Marvelous something or other. It only released in Japan. Something Marvelous Treasure Hunt, Marvelous Another Treasure Hunt, something like that. I don't know. It doesn't matter the story too much. His work on that title, which was very much inspired by A Link to the Past, earned him a spot on the new Zelda title being developed, Ocarina of Time. And this is where we see Zelda start to change. Eiji Aonuma has a slightly different game design philosophy than most of the other people on the Nintendo team, despite, of course, still aligning with their general goals of making games fun first. Regarding inspiration from other games, he's once quoted as saying, "I don't look at what's happening in the game, but how it makes me feel. What in the game moved me, and how I can bring out those same emotions in players who play my games. My intent isn't to copy them, but those are the things that stay with you as a player." The goal of making games is to share feelings? That sounds like fucking art to me, baby! Woo! Though his involvement on Ocarina of Time was less than it would be on future Zelda titles, those feelings definitely shine through. And they come through fucking heavy. God, I love that game. And it was his work on that game, and drive to make a sequel, that led to his position as Zelda man from then on. And I think his authorship undoubtedly shines through on every Zelda game he's touched. Now, I think that you can argue that some of the Zelda games that were made before Eiji Aonuma's development were art. But considering the major jump in storytelling and symbolism after his being added to the development team, I'm confident adding at least one caveat to my title of this video. Nintendo doesn't make art, except for Eiji Aonuma. And I don't know about Pikmin, but maybe.